Good evening and welcome to Counterpoint presents Straight Talk with Zafar Sobhan. I am Counterpoint editor Zafar Sobhan, and my guest this evening is the man of the moment, Md Rubaiyath Sarwar, the MD of Innovision Consulting and the author of the Innovision People's Election Pulse Survey. Rubaiyath, welcome to the show and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Zafar. It's an honor.
Now, let me say that over the last few days, your survey has become largely the talk of the town. People in TV talk shows are talking about it. It's making the front pages of the various newspapers. Everyone, of course, is putting their own interpretation, dare I say, their own spin on things. There are many misconceptions, maybe, in terms of what it says and what it doesn't say. So what I wanted today is to get it from the horse's mouth, have a conversation with you. Tell us a little bit about the survey and what are your key takeaways? What do you think there is for us as the general public of Bangladesh to understand? So, over to you.
Thank you, Zafar. So, let me break it down into two parts. So first, let me explain what the survey is about and what's the intention.
Yes.
So the People's Election Pulse Survey that Innovision has introduced, so we did a pilot last year in September, and we did a full round, which we are now calling round one. In February 2025, we released the findings early week of March, and then we just did our second round, which we're calling round two. So it's a flagship product of Innovision, and we right after the regime fell on 5th August 2024, we felt from Innovision that as a management consulting firm, the 17 years of experience that we have amassed in strategy consulting, in undertaking very high value field research works, that would be of value to Bangladesh because there is no such political consulting that exists. So the research firms probably, they did great works, but they probably did not come from the background of a strategy consulting. So since we are strategy consultants, we try to understand the pulses and we try to understand the underlying dimensions that are going to be defining in strategy shaping. And we felt that if the data is brought out as it is for the political parties, the diplomats, the external governments which are interested in Bangladesh, then it helps for policy decision making. So we come from that background. But I mean, what questions are therefore important? That's a very important question to ask self. So on that note, we are not alone. So we have a range of political analysts who work with us in shaping these questions, in deciding which of these questions are good, and they're all listed in our report. It's a public information.
It's very transparent, the whole
process. It's a public information who are behind this work. They're all named. So those are the people who informed us on let's say, what kind of questions we should move forward with. And it takes months for us to design this survey. The actual survey takes place for just 12 days. And we rapidly analyze and publish the report because of the time value of the work. But on the design part, it takes months. And also what people don't understand, that we do a hugely rigorous pre-test as well to understand how the questions are being received. And the quality assurance part of this work is mammoth. And I can guarantee, we follow all the internationally adopted best practices in undertaking such a survey.
And this is, in fact, as you said, you had a sort of a dry run first, and then the very first survey came out in February. And so this is your second one, so you've been able to refine the process, I presume, as you've gone along.
Absolutely. So, I mean, let's say the challenges that we faced from phase one, and we tried to address them in phase two, in phrasing the questions, in making them lighter and more direct. We took great care. And the results that you are seeing, those are not by, I mean, let's say, I would say, so you need to think of it on two perspectives. When we are doing the research, we are very aware of the power that we hold. Because the way we will be phrasing the question, it can change a lot how the respondents will answer.
Of course, yeah.
So we have to take great care in phrasing those questions, and that's exactly where the interpretations are falling apart, because you have to look at what exactly the question is. If you want to go beyond what the question is, you will not get the right answer.
And I think one of the problems you face here in Bangladesh is that people are inherently suspicious. They don't really appreciate the notion of a neutral arbiter. They think if anyone is doing a polling like this, they must have some kind of agenda. So that's the first thing. The second is, if the results are not to their liking, then they will assume that obviously that there is some kind of agenda at play. And three, of course, is that people also sometimes don't ask the right question. They don't understand what it is they're seeing. And I think you can see that in how people interpret some of the questions.
Absolutely. So, I mean, let me give you two examples.
Give us an example of that.
So in the first survey, we said 39% of the people gave good rate, around 70.5% gave it poor rating, right? So bad. So now, how would you interpret this data? Now, moderate. You have to look at the Bangla, motamuti.
Exactly.
Now, when we say, I mean, that's how we ask the question, right? Option was motamuti. Now, in Bangla, when we say, like, I'm not convinced it's good, I'm not convinced it's bad, we say it's motamuti. Now, motamuti is not bad. It's not good either. Right? Now, somebody can say, okay, I mean, so since they're not saying we're bad, I want to sum it up, and I want to say we're doing fair. You can't really challenge that. But again, somebody can also say that, okay, 70% bad, and then I mean, 39% motamuti or moderate, which means you're not also that positive either.
And it's interesting because, of course, that was, if I'm not wrong, when the poll first dropped, that was the first thing, and people said 78% of the people think that
it's fair, it's good.
The interim government is doing a good job. And then a lot of people then queried that. But actually, if you look at the poll, that is not exactly what the poll said.
I mean, they use the term satisfied. That's where the problem is. Because we are not asking, are you satisfied? How would you rate? Now, let's say if they were saying that, okay, I mean, mostly people are, let's say, favorable. I would still say close to, let's say, generally positive response, or generally negative response, or people are split. Those are probably accurate analysis. But if you are fair and square, you are claiming, I can't say anything. I mean, it's your interpretation. That's number one.
So the second one.
The second example, for example, yesterday when we released the finding on how do people think the relationship with India and Pakistan will be, right? So at all respondents levels, 72.2% said we want good relationship with India, and 69% said we want good relationship with Pakistan, right? So at the aggregate level, you're seeing that mostly people agree that we want good relationship
with both countries.
With both countries. Now, we are asking, how do you think the relation should be? We are not asking, hey, do you like India? So you may, I mean, let's say in the social media, I might come up and say that I hate India, I hate Pakistan. But does that necessarily mean I don't want a good relationship?
No, this is exactly right, because this is what I've seen. I've seen many people look at that question and say, well, you know, this can't be correct, because they're assuming you're asking a question you didn't ask.
And number two is, you may ask, okay, why are people saying, I mean, what does this relationship mean? Now, that's a good question. Because we could not go to the depth in asking, okay, I mean, break down the relationship. That would be a new research that we want to undertake. But now that we understand, we have this illumination that people generally want good relationship. You can go to the next level of asking, okay, what does this relationship mean? That would be good. But there's more to this data. What people are not analyzing at all, and that pains me, is that we gave fully stratified result because aggregate doesn't mean much. Mean result doesn't mean much. You're forgetting about your right and left. And that's not good. Now, what is painful in Bangladesh is that people do not take time to read. We have 22-page report, we have 30 slides, and then we have summaries. Please read. Now, because I'm here today, so let's look into this data. So we have people who are sampled from universities. Now, and we have, people who are sampled from households. Now, in case of India, from the university samples, 64% says they want a good relationship, but at the household level is 73%. So you see quite a good level of difference between.
There's quite a disparity, a good 10%.
It's a good 10% disparity between students, right? But it comes down when we're talking about Pakistan.
Interesting.
So in
What's
that case,
the
household survey is 69% and university is 66%. So that would mean not much statistical difference. So that's an important point to think about.
Because that tells you a little bit about where the students are.
That probably says the students are more probably leaning towards Pakistan than India.
Yeah.
So that's an important point to think about.
Very significant.
And because a lot of our population are Gen Zs, and you're not really talking about that. That pains me. And also it pains me that we gave you male to female segregated result, which is mirroring what the students are thinking. Because men are thinking differently than women, right?
Yeah.
Men, so what you can see here is that men are more in disfavor of relationship with India. Female are more in favor. 75.8% of females said they want good relationship, while 69.3% of men said they want good relationship with India. Even though the direction holds, but it's still you see that men are a little bit more volatile. So now you will understand. I mean, if your let's say news is social media, bring to light another point that we know. Women are not that vocally active about politics in social media.
Yeah, true.
So what you're
not
probably
in Bangladesh, anyway.
Not in Bangladesh. So what you're probably seeing is, okay, you are a man active in social media. That's how you gather your result, and you're reading all the men's news and then polls, and then you come to the conclusion, okay, the survey is feeding you.
Yeah.
But you're not looking into this data, and you're just asking at the aggregate level, and you're questioning. That pains me.
No. I mean, I think like one of the services you're providing here is, I think, an educational service. I mean, people need to learn how to look at surveys and learn how to accept the surveys. And the whole point is that, of course, a survey may not. It may not correspond with your own pre-existing
and it also not complete.
Because if we could go on anecdote, well, then we wouldn't need surveys to begin with.
Absolutely, and also it's not complete. That's something that we always forget. Every survey is limited by design.
Sure.
We have to take care of that. You can ask, okay, you did not ask this and that question, fair and square. Because we can't.
You can't ask everything.
We can't ask everything. I mean, we have time constraint, we have money constraint. I mean, for this survey, we kept it that the design has to be, the tool has to be completed within 15 to 20 minutes. But below 15 minutes, we disregarded the data. But it has to be within the time frame of 15 to 20 minutes. I can't ask all sorts of questions. I'm sorry.
Well, tell me, so what do you think is the key takeaway from as someone who designed it and has looked, of course, probably more closely than any of us at the responses?
So, absolutely. First of all, I mean, this survey challenges my own biases. So I'm telling that fair and square here. So, for instance, I personally assumed from my social circles that people probably are now a little bit more apathetic to election because, I mean, that's what I thought. But 94% responded that they wanted to go to election, which comes down a little bit more when Awami League is not under equation. So, but it's still, I mean, even if, let's say, if we do all those of pivoted analysis, if it comes down to 85% people saying they would go to election, I mean, I did not think that they would say so. But then again, 69% said they think the interim government would be able to do a free and fair election. And then, if I'm not wrong, I need to look back at the data. Because people will see this and they will quote, so I need to be correct. Let me be correct. So I think, 77.5% said they think they can vote safely and without fear. 86.5% said they want the election by February, right? And then also, when we asked about law enforcement agencies, they mostly think that the law enforcement agencies will be able to do a fair duty. And then again, we asked about likelihood of clashes. So you see 14.2% said high, 19.7% said moderate. So around 1/3 are seeing some sort of clashes, and low said 21.3%. So generally, there is a positive attitude towards the next election.
I mean, people want elections. They have confidence in the interim government to deliver the elections, and they feel that, you know, they're not saying that or few people are saying that there will be no violence or no issues, but by and large, they think it will be manageable.
Yes. So people are expecting a fair election. That's the biggest message that is a takeaway for us. And so we need to take care of this message, because that's the expectation of the people. And if the government is failing, law enforcement are failing, that's a different question altogether. But this is the expectation of the people.
And the expectation, and also the desire. I mean, people want to see an election.
Absolutely. But then, let's say, so this paradox. So 56.6% said situation of extortion has worsened in last 6 months. But then again, 39% said gave good rating to the government's performance. Why that paradox, right? Now, let's come to the next survey. We had questioned, let's say, what is your expectation about the future government? And we see the pulses have changed from our round one. In round one, it was mostly about the price hike. Commodity price hike was 71.2% in round one. It came down to 54.6%. Law and order, it was 52.2% in round one. It changed to 57.5% in round two. Now, and then police reform, it was very poor in round one. So reformation of law enforcement agencies were 13.5% in round one. It came down, it increased to 20.3%, very statistically significant. And then also reducing corruption in government work. We were talking about it before. And it was 21.7% in round one. It increased to 36.9%. So you see, someone, a researcher like me, and a very accomplished researcher in Bangladesh, he was asked by a media yesterday, and he gave these analysis that, look, in our country, if people generally have low prices of commodities, they will always say we are doing good.
Absolutely.
They are probably, I mean, here probably you are saying extortion increased and expectation of the government is about all law and order and etc. So that would probably tell you then, why aren't you giving a bad report to the government?
And it's explained by the price of commodities.
It's probably explained by the price of commodity. If the price of commodity is good, I would say, and bear in mind 69% of the sample is rural. And who are in the social media and who are talking in the media?
Well, the other thing is, if you also look at, you also asked a very interesting second question when you asked people about extortion. You said, what is your perception based on? In there, people who have direct or indirect experience of extortion diminishes dramatically.
Yes, so 41% said their sources for extortion is social media. And then, let's say, it is personal experience is very low. So personal experience 13.4% and 41.1% said social media, 20% said private TV channels.
That could also go a long way to explaining it. That they are hearing about it, but in their own personal lives, it's not as prevalent. But prices,
that's a direct experience.
That's a universal experience. Everyone is impacted by what the prices are.
That's a direct experience. So my point is, look inside the data, please. This is a service to you, please.
No, I agree. I mean, I got to tell you, I mean, I've looked at it fairly closely. I don't find these great disparities other people talk about. But it has an internal consistency, in my opinion.
Exactly, and since this question came up, again, the Gen Zs, millennials, they are more concerned about all this extortion and prices and everything, corruption. But Gen X, boomers, they're less. We need to think about it. And then again, I mean, what are the sources of data for the Gen Zs? If you look at all of these, I mean, probably the Gen Zs are carrying a baggage. And probably that is affecting their responses. in the social media, how they're responding, in public life, how they're responding. And for me, as a social researcher as well, that's an important dimension to
Well, of course, and one would also expect, Gen Z, they're younger, they are more impatient, they want to change the world after all, I think.
Absolutely.
And maybe they are less patient as to, and that's one of the reasons we had a Gen Z revolution. I mean, this is the great thing about that generation, is they're less patient about these things.
Absolutely. So people, please, get inside the data.
Get inside the data. But tell me a little bit about, what about how people are going to vote? And very interesting, I think there's some interesting data in terms of where people stand with respect to Awami League. Why don't you take us through that a little?
Surely. So, few important points. Percentage of undecided voters, it increased this time. So it was around 29% in round one. It's now 32.2%. Still statistically not very much different, but what we're seeing, 1/3 of the population undecided. 5% around.
And is undecided the same as I don't want to say, or?
Sorry, not undecided. This is undecided. This is not the same as I don't want to say.
Okay.
We're coming to that.
Okay.
So this is undecided. And then let's say, so around 35% of the samples are gone because they're undecided and they will not vote. And then the rest we have asked, okay, did you decide to vote? And there again, some said, no, we did not decide which party to vote. And then some said, yes, we decided. So, so within that, so if we bring what we have is that 4,731 samples revealed of the total. So we are getting around 7% more revealed this time than last time. Okay, so that's an important point. Take note of that. So even though higher proportion have said they're undecided, we have more revealed samples. So of the total than last time. So then, which means that the shyness of the voters that was in February, that is probably is reducing, right? Now let's look into the data then. These 4,731, how they're behaving, and the 10,413, which has all the responses, how they're behaving. Now, if you look within that data frame, what you're seeing is very, very interesting. Now, let's say at the total sample, in March, we had 17% who were saying BNP, they would vote for BNP, which has increased to 18.7%, 1.7% increase for BNP. Okay, at the all sample level. Jamaat Islami was 12.8% in round one, which has increased to 13.8%, so 1% increase. Awami League was 5.70% in round one, which has increased to 8.50%. So where is your revealed going? It's going to Awami League more.
And that would make sense, because I would presume if someone does not want to reveal what their voting preference is, largely I would imagine, well, why wouldn't you want to reveal? I would imagine if you're Awami League, that would give you an incentive to keep it to yourself.
So we're seeing more and more, so the reveal is increasing and Awami League is
going in that direction, which is what one would expect.
So that's number one question. Number two, as if you can recall, we present the primary finding based on revealed voters. I had a lot of debate with my scientist circles, researchers circle, who would prefer not to, because they think it's inflated, because we are not considering the full sample, right? I beg to differ, and the reason being that if tomorrow a vote happens and I don't show up, for whatever reason, I'm not counted. So whoever has voted, that's my sample. I'm not going to say, okay, BNP has got 43% on the total voting population. I'm going to report based on the percentage of BNP, the voters who have showed up.
Voted.
Right?
Always,
So given that, we think it's important to present the data also based on the revealed. Because that's, let's assume that is the one who has voted. So 41.7% in the last survey, they said they will vote for BNP. It is now 41.3%. And then Bangladesh Jamaat Islami was 31.60%, which is now 30.30%. So you see, it's holding so tight. It's not going north and south in the revealed percentage level, right? And now look at the other data. Awami League was 14.00%, which is now 18.80%. So 4.80% increase. So what you're probably going to see as the election closes, more people become decided, more people become revealed. So these data, those that are, let's say, unrevealed, I mean, it will continue, it will start to show more and more. I mean, those that are shy voters, it will reveal them. So we're probably seeing that Awami League has more shy voters than the other parties at this point. And this is not going to probably change so much. BNP will not become 60% overnight if let's say, my 30% unrevealed are revealing themselves. So which is why taking note of this is so important.
No, and I think it's absolutely crucial, though, of course, things do change as elections tighten up. As, you know, for instance, one of the big X factors in the election here is what, if anything, will happen if Tariq Rahman comes back to Bangladesh? We can't answer that question, but of course, you know, that's not the question you're trying to answer.
There's so much, I mean, that we don't know. I mean, these Gen Zs, how they would react, whether they will go to vote, Awami League voters, Awami League's participation in election. Again, a counterintuitive for some people. 45% said they would want Awami League to participate in election, but 18% said they want to vote for Awami League. What does it mean? So that means even those people who are, let's say, not voting for Awami League
would like to see them in the election.
Would like to see them in election.
Which makes sense to me.
And that's where it pains me, because maybe the urban, high-income, educated class in social media, we are not paying attention to our people. That's what this survey is revealing.
No, but of course, this is the point, and people don't like to take that message away. They think, well, maybe there's, you know, something faulty with the survey. But I think one thing is very interesting is you have done 2 surveys, and I think there's also other surveys out there which broadly, I think, are in agreement. So I think we have a fairly robust data set of what's going on, and maybe this is something which is fairly new in Bangladesh's electoral history. So.
Absolutely, and I really appreciate it. I welcome it. I mean, that was our intention, to bring this culture of discussion and debate, and let it be data-based, and I mean, let it not be governed by agenda. I mean, so if you look inside it, the reason why it is going this and that direction is talking about everyone is because it's not an agenda manipulation, agenda setting survey. It is an agenda setting survey from the perspective of the people, not from the perspective of institutions. So now the institutions need to get inside this data and set their agenda around the people. That was the intention.
No, and I think so. I understand this very well, and I think you've very much succeeded in what you went out to do. I think the people understand it, and maybe in time the pundits and the political classes will also understand it. I think in the final analysis we will actually see that the final test is when we have elections, and we'll see how close we got there. So until that happens, you won't get the true vindication, but hopefully we'll see another election between now and then, another poll between now and then, if it works out.
We hope so. There might be. It's a stress on us. I mean, doing this, I mean, on our own fund, it's a bit of a stress. But given the interest and positive response that we have received over the last 1 week on the second round, our board, I mean, we are more interested. Let's see, I mean, whether we'll do the third round, which we intend to do, but not confirmed yet. But people must acknowledge that these surveys, they just capture the point in time. It is not saying what would happen. It is not going to say what is going to happen in February. That's a long way down the line.
Well, that's true, of course, to the data. And I think if they do dig down into the data, they'll see that there's a lot of very interesting information there, and the analysis and information which can be gleaned does actually hang together. There's no doubt in my mind. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Zafar. Thank you so much.
And thank you for tuning in. This is Zafar Sobhan. This has been Straight Talk with Zafar Sobhan, and my guest has been Md Rubaiyath Sarwar. Thank you.